Hi everyone, welcome to a new edition of the show where you find out what's happening in Brazil. I'm Nara Chagas and I'm gonna be with you from now on. On August 17, Supreme Court Minister Alexandre de Moraes authorized the disclosure of the bank and financial records of former President Jair Bolsonaro and his wife, Michele Bolsonaro. The goal is to find out if the money accrued with the selling of the president's jewelry were given to the former president. Also, on August 17, hacker Walter Delgatti Neto gave a testimony to the Parliamentary Commission of Inquiry that is investigating the coup plot attempt on January 8. In his testimony, he stated that Jair Bolsonaro asked him to take responsibility for a wiretap supposedly used against Minister of the Supreme Court Alexandre de Moraes. Besides, the former president had also allegedly asked Delgatti to fraud the electronic voting machines with the promise of a presidential pardon in case he was arrested. And now, a sad news. On August 17, the Quilombola leader Mãe Bernadette was shot dead in Pitanga dos Palmares Quilombo, Bahia State. In recent years, Bernadette were fighting to identify the masterminds behind the killing of her son. Since 2021, she had been receiving death threats. As Minister Silvio Almeida, who heads Brazil's Human Rights Ministry, took responsibility. He stated that a left-wing government must improve mechanisms to protect human rights defenders. And still about violence, on August 15, the Pastoral Land Commission launched the book Rural Conflicts Brazil. According to data published in the book, in 2022, 45 murders were recorded as a consequence of rural conflicts, a rise of over 30% compared to the previous year. Most of the victims are indigenous individuals. On August 18, the federal government launched the Family Farming Harvest Plan. The plan will have the largest amount resource in the history of rural credit. It will be the equivalent of more than $15 billion and will be provided at low interest rates to small farmers. The amount is also 34% higher than that of the previous harvest. After a long and tumultuous session, João Pedro Stédile helped further dismantle the opposition on the Parliamentary Inquiry Commission of the Landless Workers Movement, the MST, which started in May of this year. Supporters of the government base point out Stedile's balanced and didactic approach even when dealing with provocations and personal attacks.
It was a 7 hours long testimony. Bombarded by the opposition, João Stedile answered all the questions, many of them made more than once, and tried to explain the activities of the Landless Workers Movement, also known in Brazil as MST. Addressing one of the questions, he explained the difference between invading and occupying a land.
Eu nunca incitei crime nenhum.
I never encourage any crime. To invade land is a crime, like big farmers in Mato Grosso do Sul have been doing, invading indigenous lands. What the Landless Workers Movement does is occupy land as a way to pressure for the application of the Constitution.
The leader of the MST received support since his arrival at Congress. Representatives of popular movements and religious leaders walked with the director. In the hall where the session was held, left-wing federal deputies sat in the front row wearing MST caps.
In Ceará state, we knew the MST very closely. The movement is establishing agro-industries in the milk production chain in the region of Quixeramobim. They are developing agro-industry involving goats and chips, guaranteeing honey agro-industry and generating opportunities for thousands of families that once faced extreme poverty. Today they live a dignified life. Their kids go to college and are in full-time schools.
Even having partnerships with the state governments and with the federal government, Stedile highlighted the autonomy of the movement when asked about it by Federal Deputy Kim Kataguiri from Union Brazil, an opposition party.
We will defend Lula's government from its enemies. Who are the enemies of Lula's government today? It is the financial capital, Brazil's central bank, and the unproductive large states that invade indigenous and quilombola lands. We will defend the government from this kind of attack. The second political line that is part of our principles is we always maintained the autonomy of popular movement.
The session was also marked by turmoil and insults. Federal Deputy Éder Mauro, a police chief from the right-wing Liberal Party, called Stedile a bum.
That's all they have, a totally unprepared position, no content or civility, attacking Stedile, who came here as a witness and definitely gave a class talking about economy, agriculture, and even international politics. So I would say we had a high-profile debate, but some, as seen during the inquiry, attack, offend, and insult.
The MST Parliamentary Commission of Inquiry was set up in May and is scheduled to finish on September 14th. This period will not be extended. Up until now, 3 diligences were carried out with possible abuses of authority.
I've got a feeling that they will regret all this. It would be better if they haven't done this because, for us, it is great. João answered all the questions very calmly. Those who are questioning know less than those who are answering. I think it was a class on a special day, the day we remember Margarida Alves.
Margarida Alves, mentioned by a federal deputy at the end of the news story, was a union leader killed in 1983. At the beginning of 2000s, female workers from all around the country started to meet in Brasilia in an event called March of Margaridas, named after the lady leader. Last week, on August 15 and 16, the streets of Brasilia were taken by the mobilization.
As sang by Margaridas, Brasilia flourished. Those who make happen arrived. On last Wednesday, August 16, the sun had just started to rise when women occupied the large avenues in Brazil's capital city.
Without a doubt, this is a great moment. We are very touched about making part of this great march again, a march involving all the Brazilian states and Latin America. To us, it's a big joy.
Among their demands, Margaridas want a new agrarian reform plan, the resumption and strengthening of the seed and seedling national program for agriculture, and the creation of productive backyards for rural women. The mobilization started on the day before, with activities in the exhibition pavilion in Brasilia's park. The pavilion also hosted cultural activities, such as the show Margarida, For You to Remember Me, by artist Luz Bárbara from Paraíba State.
I saw Margarida's strength, so I said to myself, I wanna feel this strength in my body, so I'm gonna study this woman's words. I'm gonna speak. I'm gonna make my body echo as what she said. By doing this, maybe I can feel a bit of her strength.
The first march happened in 2000. Since then, the event has gained importance.
The March of Margaridas is the largest women's movement in Brazil, maybe in Latin America. It's a really big opportunity for popular feminists to unite their fights: the fight for political participation, the right of abortion, the end of violence, food sovereignty, proper working conditions, and equal pay. That is the struggle we are facing here on the streets of Brasilia.
The way of collectively building the March of Margaridas also involves the support of social movements that work strengthening workers' demands.
It is a moment of fight, of presenting demands to the Lula government and apprehending our society's aims, the aims of the Brazilian people. I think one of the main things is the debate about sovereignty and democracy in our country. Brazilian female peasants, together with workers from rural and urban areas, particularly in the current moment, when women have roles in Brazilian politics, strengthening democracy, public policies that guarantees life improvements to female rural workers and for all peasants, and also a feeling of joy, fraternity, and communality that women bring to the fight of the working class today.
The march honors the union leader Margarida Maria Alves, murdered in 1983. 40 years later, rural workers from the same union Margarida was part of in Lagoa Grande, Paraíba State, also joined the mobilization.
She fought hard for our community and for the town of Lagoa Grande. She fought really hard, but T-Sharks didn't want her to win, so they killed her. We will not allow this. We, women, are stronger.
During the final act at the Esplanade of Ministries, President Lula presented a set of actions such as technical assistance, agrarian reform, and also the establishment of a national pact to prevent femicides, focusing on the prevention of all forms of discrimination, misogyny, and violence against women.
Seguiremos em marcha, atentas e fortes, seguiremos, eu e você.
Did you like the show? So hit the like button and share it with your friends. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel to receive notifications. We'll see you next week.